The hunters in the dark. The galaxy was wide and cold, filled with endless stars and silent worlds. Among these stars moved the hunters, alien fleets made of steel and fire. They were called the Caerth, a species born for war, their ships like black knives cutting through the void. For centuries they had hunted humanity, chasing every human colony across the galaxy. To the Caerth, humans were prey, clever prey but prey all the same. The Caerth believed the hunt was almost over. Only small groups of humans remained, scattered like dust, hiding on lost stations and broken moons. The Caerth fleets tracked them, captured them and erased them. Each time they believed it was the last nest, the last spark of resistance. But whispers traveled through the stars. Whispers that Earth itself still remained silent and waiting. The hunters mocked the idea. Earth was supposed to be dead, ruined long ago when the Caerth first struck. Yet the rumors would not die. Some traders claimed they saw strange signals near Sol, signals buried in the noise of background radiation. Others swore they found wreckage of alien fleets near the human home system, wreckage that did not match Caerth weapons. The Caerth commander of the fleet, Bloodfang, sneered at such talk. Earth is ash, he told his crew. Humans are shadows, and shadows do not fight back. But in the dark of his command ship, when the stars flickered outside his window, he wondered, why did humans still survive after all these centuries of the hunt? Why did they never truly vanish? On the edge of Caerth-controlled space, a small human freighter tried to run. The hunters caught it in their nets of light, dragging it toward destruction. But before the freighter was torn apart, it sent out a single signal. The Caerth thought it was a distress call, weak, broken, meaningless. But somewhere, hidden deep in the black of space, that signal was received. The Caerth laughed as the freighter burned. To them, it was another victory. Another reminder that humans were doomed yet far away. On a hidden station beneath the rings of Saturn, a light turned green. The message had been short, but the meaning was clear. The hunters are close. Inside that secret station, men and women in dark uniforms looked at one another. Their eyes did not show fear, only calm readiness. For Earth had not been silent because of weakness. Earth had been silent because it was preparing for the day when the hunters came too close. Meanwhile, the Caerth fleet, Bloodfang, swept into the Sol system. They expected ruins, empty planets, broken ships drifting like bones. Instead, they found a quiet Earth, blue and green, shining as if untouched. No defense fleets, no orbital stations, only silence. It was too easy. And that made the Caerth uneasy. Send scouts, the commander ordered, his voice sharp. Dozens of small Caerth ships fell toward Earth, cutting through the atmosphere. They expected to see cities in rubble, maybe scattered survivors hiding in caves. But as the clouds broke, the scouts saw something strange. The cities were not ruins, they were alive with power, their surfaces covered with strange glowing shields. Before the scouts could report back, they vanished. One by one, their signals went dark. On the Bloodfang, alarms rang across the decks. The Caerth commander leaned forward, his eyes wide. Impossible, he whispered. No prey can strike so fast. What the Caerth did not know was that for centuries, humans had been watching. Every attack, every colony lost, had not broken them, it had hardened them. On Earth, deep under the oceans and hidden inside mountains, humanity had built something new. Weapons unlike any in the galaxy, fleets forged in silence. They had let the Caerth believe they were winning. But all along, Earth was preparing for this very moment. In the silence of space just beyond the orbit of Mars, giant shapes began to move. Caerth scanners flickered, trying to understand what they were seeing. The signals showed impossible readings. Ships, larger than anything in known history. The commander's jaw tightened, his claws scraping the edge of his command chair. They were never prey, he muttered. They were waiting. The hunt had changed. The hunters who had chased humans across the stars were about to learn the truth. Earth was ready, and for the first time in centuries, it was not the humans who feared the dark. It was the hunters. Earth's silence. The Caerth fleet circled Earth like wolves around a quiet campfire. The planet glowed with blue oceans and green lands, Yet no weapons fired, no human voices answered. It looked calm, untouched, almost fragile. The hunters could not understand. The commander of the Bloodfang pressed his claws on the command table. "Scan again," he growled. His crew obeyed, sending beams of energy across the surface of Earth. At first, the readings showed nothing unusual. Air, water, land, all natural. But then faint pulses began to appear. Deep beneath the crust, strange signals, old yet powerful, repeating in patterns the Cairth could not break. "It is just noise," one officer said, his eyes glowing with alien confidence, but the commander shook his head slowly. "No prey hides in silence for centuries, without reason," he muttered. Still, the fleet prepared to descend, hungry for the final kill. Far below, deep under the surface of Earth, massive chambers lit with cold blue light. Human engineers and soldiers moved in silence, watching the Cairth approach. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. Every breath, every lesson had been for the day the hunters returned. On walls of steel and stone, ancient words were carved. "We endure so we may strike." Back in orbit, the Cairth scouts, sent down to the surface, did not return. The commander grew restless, his spines lifting in unease. "Where are my scouts?" he demanded. But the silence answered only with static. On his screen, the dots representing his ships faded one by one, as if they had been swallowed. The crew shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps the planet is cursed," one whispered. The commander snarled, his voice cutting like a blade. "There is no curse, only prey," he said. But deep inside, his thoughts trembled. Why did silence feel like a trap? As night fell over the Earth below, the surface shimmered strangely. The Cairth could see faint glows where cities should have been ruins. Buildings pulsed with energy, lights that flickered in strange rhythms. It looked alive, like the planet itself was breathing. The hunters were used to easy kills, burning, villages, shattered colonies. But this was different. This was patience, waiting, daring them to come closer. On Earth, a woman in a black uniform stood before a massive screen. Her name was Admiral Sarah Kyle, commander of Earth's hidden defense. She watched as the Cairth fleet tightened around her world. "They are here," an officer whispered. Sarah did not flinch, her eyes cold as steel. "They think us silent, but silence is the sharpest weapon," she said. Deep beneath the oceans, war machines stirred. In hollowed mountains, hidden reactors roared to life. Humanity had built its strength not in open war but in shadows. For every colony the Cairth destroyed, Earth built 2 hidden arsenals. For every human killed, Earth forged a weapon to avenge them. Above, the Cairth commander gave the order. "Prepare to strike the planet," he roared. His fleet began charging their weapons, red light glowing across their ships. But before they could fire, every screen across the Cairth vessels flickered. For a moment, their own systems showed them something impossible. A single human face staring at them, calm and unafraid. The alien crew hissed and shouted, trying to erase the image. The commander slammed his claw on the console. "What trick is this?" he demanded. But the face spoke, its voice low and steady. "You hunted us across the stars, but Earth has been waiting." Then the image vanished, replaced by static. Panic whispered through the Cairth fleet. "No prey speaks like that," one officer said, his scales trembling. The commander tried to silence them, but even his own voice was weaker than before. Beneath Earth's crust, the signal continued. It pulsed like a heartbeat, spreading across the system. Mars, the moons of Jupiter, the icy rings of Saturn, all responded. The hunters thought they had cornered prey, but now it felt like they were the ones trapped in the web. The Bloodfang adjusted its course, pulling closer to Earth. Its scanners went wild, detecting thousands of faint energy spikes below the surface. "Impossible," whispered the science officer. "They have no such power." The commander bared his teeth, trying to keep control. "Then explain the silence," he snapped. No one could. As the fleet moved lower, the stars behind them seemed darker, For the first time, the hunters felt the weight of the void pressing in. Earth was not empty. Earth was not weak. It was something else, something waiting. And the silence that wrapped the planet was no longer calm. It was a warning. The hidden arsenal. The Carth fleet drifted above Earth, their ships like dark predators circling silent prey. The commander of the Bloodfang believed victory was near, but his heart was uneasy. Something about the planet felt wrong too. Calm. Too quiet. Like a beast pretending to sleep, he ordered his warships to prepare for bombardment. The sky above Earth glowed red as Carth cannons charged, yet before the first blast could fire, the entire fleet shook. Shockwaves rippled across their hulls as if something massive had moved beneath them. "Report!" the commander shouted. His crew struggled to explain. Scanners picked up seismic spikes across the planet, mountains trembling, oceans boiling with strange activity. One officer whispered in disbelief, "They are opening the ground." Far below, deep under Earth's oceans, colossal hangars split. Apart, dark waters parted as massive doors rose, revealing hidden machines. Out of the abyss came ships unlike anything the Carth had seen. Their hulls were black as night, their edges glowing faintly with blue fire. They were not fragile human ships of the past, but titans forged in silence. From the Andes Mountains, great caverns opened. From beneath Siberia's frozen lands, the earth cracked and split. From deserts long thought empty, huge steel towers rose into the sky. Each one released vessels that blazed with energy. These were Earth's hidden arsenal, the fleet built in secret while the galaxy mocked humanity as broken. On the Bloodfang, the Carth crew stared in horror. "There must be hundreds of them," one officer gasped. "No," another corrected, his voice shaking. "There are thousands." The commander slammed his claw against the table. "It is impossible," he growled. "Prey cannot do this." But the evidence filled the stars, and the Carth finally saw the truth. Humans had never been prey. The first human warship rose from the Pacific Ocean. It was larger than any Carth vessel, its shape sleek but monstrous. Energy pulsed along its sides like lightning trapped in metal veins. The Carth aimed their cannons and fired. Beams of crimson light slashed through space, striking the human ship. But when the smoke cleared, the vessel still stood, untouched. Then it answered. A single blast of blue energy erupted from its front. It tore through the void and split 3 Carth cruisers apart in an instant. The alien fleet froze. Disbelief, spreading like wildfire. One shot had destroyed what normally required an entire Carth armada. More ships emerged, filling orbit like shadows of giants. Each one carried weapons the galaxy had never seen before. This was the power Earth had hidden. While the hunters chased human refugees across distant worlds, Earth had been building. Every secret factory, every hidden base, every resource had gone into one goal: to create a fleet strong enough to strike back. Inside the lead human ship, Admiral Sarah Kale stood tall. Her voice echoed through the command bridge. "They thought we were broken, but we endured. They thought we were silent, but we prepared. Today, we show the galaxy what Earth truly is." The Carth commander tried to rally his fleet. "All ships attack," he roared. But fear had already poisoned his warriors. They fired desperately, their beams cutting the black. Yet the human warships moved with impossible speed. Their weapons answered with precision, each strike shattering. Alien hulls like glass. From the orbit of Mars came another shock. Giant stations, long thought abandoned, powered up with a sudden flare of light. Massive rail cannons locked onto Carth warships. Bolts of metal and fire streaked through space, ripping enemy vessels apart. The Carth screamed as their fleet burned. Still, the commander refused to believe it. "This is a trick," he snarled, though doubt cracked his voice. But deep down he knew the truth. The humans had been preparing from the start. Every colony lost had been a sacrifice, every defeat a lesson. Now the prey had become predators, and the hunters were trapped inside Earth's snare. On Earth's surface, civilians watched from underground shelters. They did not cry, they did not scream. They had known this day would come. Generations had lived and died waiting for it. And now the sky burned, not with fear but with hope. Above, the Cairth commander made one final choice. "Retreat," he ordered bitterly. But even as he spoke, the stars themselves seemed to close in. More human ships uncloaked beyond Jupiter, massive carriers blocking the escape route. The Cairth realized, too late. The net was already drawn. The silence that had fooled them for centuries was not weakness. It was the sound of preparation. And now, the galaxy would learn that Earth had never been prey at all. The first strike. The Cairth fleet hovered above Earth, their warships trembling under the weight of fear. They had come expecting ruins and prey, but instead they had found giants rising from oceans and mountains. The silence of Earth had broken, replaced by the thunder of engines and the glow of hidden weapons. The Cairth commander tried to steady his crew. "Form the attack line," he barked, his voice sharp and cold. Rows of alien warships adjusted, their red cannons charging until the void lit up like fire. For a moment it looked as if the Cairth would drown Earth in light. But then the humans struck first. From the Pacific Ocean, the lead warship roared upward. Its hull shimmered with blue currents of energy, its size dwarfing the alien cruisers. Admiral Sarah Cale stood inside the command deck, her eyes like stone. "Target the flagship," she ordered. The crew obeyed without hesitation. The ship's forward cannon glowed bright, the energy building into a sphere of light that shook the entire vessel. Then it released. A single beam of pure blue fire cut across space. The Cairth flagship. Bloodfang tried to raise shields, but the blast sliced through them like paper. In one instant, the flagship shattered, torn apart by power no alien had ever imagined humans could wield. The Cairth froze. Their commander's final roar echoed in static before his ship split into burning fragments. Dozens of Cairth vessels scattered in confusion, their lines broken, their courage draining. The hunters who once laughed at humanity were now prey themselves. But Earth was not finished. From the mountains of Siberia, hidden, silos opened like the mouths of beasts. Columns of missiles rose into the sky, their trails painting silver scars across the darkness. At first, the Cairth sneered. Primitive weapons, they thought. But as the missiles neared, they split apart, each one releasing swarms of smaller warheads. The alien shields failed under the storm. Ships burst into fire. Entire squadrons, erased in seconds. Admiral Sarah watched with calm focus. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. Her words carried across the fleet as human warships moved into formation. They were not scattered refugees anymore. They were an army. Born of silence, the Cairth fired back desperately. Red beams tore through space, striking human ships. A few vessels shuddered, but instead of breaking apart, their hulls shifted, shimmering like liquid metal. The attacks bent away, redirected by technology the Cairth had never seen. Their weapons were useless. Their numbers meant nothing. From the orbit of Mars, hidden defense stations powered up. Massive rail cannons rotated, each one the size of a mountain. With a thunderous crack, they fired. Bolts of kinetic energy streaked through the void faster than light could reflect. Alien battleships shattered into pieces before they even realized they had been hit. Panic spread among the Cairth. "They are everywhere," one captain screamed over the comms. "Retreat, retreat before it is too late," another begged. But it was already too late. The net had closed, human carriers uncloaked near Jupiter, their shadows blocking the stars. From their hangars, swarms of smaller ships launched, sleek and deadly. They darted between Cairth cruisers, planting charges, ripping engines apart. Every explosion lit the void brighter than suns. Admiral Sarah gave her final command. "No mercy," she said. "This is for every world they burned, for every child they hunted, for every name we carved into the stones of Earth." Her fleet roared forward, the hunters now becoming the hunted. The Cairth tried to regroup, but fear choked them. They had believed humans weak, fragile, easy prey. Now they faced a truth that broke their spirits. Humanity had not only survived, it had evolved. The silence of Earth had been a forge, and out of it had come weapons that no empire could stop. In the distance, one Cairth ship tried to escape, Its engines burned bright as it raced toward the edge of the system. But before it could jump, a massive shadow fell across it. A human dreadnought uncloaked directly in its path, its hull so vast it blocked out the stars. With a single shot, the alien vessel vanished into fire. The first strike was over. In less than an hour, half the Carth fleet was gone. The hunters who had chased humanity across the galaxy were broken, and Earth had spoken its first true word in centuries. That word was war. The hunter becomes the hunted. The Carth fleet was in ruins. Half their ships burned in the void, the rest scattered in panic. The hunters who once prowled the galaxy without fear now felt the shadow of something greater. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they were prey. Admiral Sarah Kale stood on the bridge of the lead human dreadnought. Her voice was steady, calm, like iron in a storm. "Do not let them escape," she ordered. Her fleet responded as one, warships moving with precision no alien commander had ever seen. The hunt had begun. But it was not the Carth who were the hunters now. Human warships split into wings. One group cut through the center of the alien fleet, tearing apart their formations. Another group swept wide, surrounding the stragglers. Each Carth vessel that tried to flee found itself blocked by walls of human steel. There was no way out. The Carth commanders shouted desperate orders. "Break through, run, regroup," they cried. But their voices shook with fear. One by one, their warships were swallowed in fire. Every escape path was closed, every safe harbor gone. In the chaos, the humans unleashed new weapons. Small drones shaped like silver arrows darted from their carriers. They were faster than light itself, weaving between enemy ships. When they struck, they melted through hulls and tore engines apart from the inside. Carth ships exploded like falling stars, their wreckage scattering across the system. The Carth had thought humanity fragile, but now they saw the truth. Human patience was not weakness, it was strength. Every year of silence had been a trap, every lost colony a step in the plan. Now that plan was revealed, and it was merciless. One Carth captain, blood dripping from his wounds, stared at the human fleet on his screen. "They waited for us," he whispered. "All this time, they waited." His crew trembled, some begging for retreat, others praying to gods long abandoned. But there was no retreat, no escape, only the cold fire of human vengeance. From orbit above Jupiter, the human carriers unleashed a new wave. Fighters swept through the debris like wolves among sheep. Their weapons did not simply kill, they hunted with precision, choosing targets, cutting down the Carth leaders first. Without their commanders, the alien fleet collapsed into panic. Ships collided, fleeing in blind terror. Admiral Sarah watched as the last formations broke. She leaned forward, her voice a blade. "Send the message," she said. Across the galaxy, human transmitters awoke. The same words repeated on every channel, in every tongue. "We are no longer prey. The hunt ends today. We are the hunters now." The words spread like fire through the stars. Allies and enemies alike heard them. On distant worlds, alien rulers felt the first shiver of fear. If humanity had survived, if humanity had prepared, then the galaxy itself was no longer safe. Back in the Sol system, the Carth survivors tried one last desperate gamble. A cluster of warships turned their weapons not on humans, but on Earth itself. They hoped to strike the planet, to burn it before being destroyed. But before their cannons could fire, massive shadows rose from Earth's oceans. Planetary shields ignited, glowing like suns. The alien blasts hit them and vanished into nothing. Then the Earth answered. Dozens of hidden silos opened at once. Missiles streaked into space, guided with perfect accuracy. Each one found its target. The Carth vessels that dared to fire upon Earth were reduced to ashes in seconds. The commander of one crippled Carth ship stared at the burning wrecks around him. His voice broke as he whispered, "This was never a battle, it was an ambush." And in his heart, he knew it was true. The humans had not simply defended their home, they had set the trap centuries ago. Every move, every silence, every shadow had been part of the plan. Now the Carth were running, but there was no safety in the stars anymore. Human fleets pursued them beyond the Sol system, into the asteroid belt, past Saturn's rings, beyond Neptune's shadow. Wherever the Cairth tried to hide, the humans were there first, striking from the dark, cutting off supply ships, destroying rescue attempts. The Cairth, who once roamed the galaxy as predators, were now hunted animals, fleeing from world to world, on board her dreadnought. Admiral Sarah gave her final order for the day. "Do not stop," she said, her voice steady. "This war is not over until they know what it means to fear the dark." And as the stars burned with the wreckage of the Cairth, the truth echoed. Across the galaxy, the hunters had become the hunted, and Earth's vengeance was only beginning. Earth's revelation. The news of the Cairth defeat spread faster than light. Signals jumped from system to system, carried by frightened traders, broken soldiers and fleeing warships. Across the galaxy, species who once mocked humanity now whispered in fear. The impossible had happened. Humans had risen from silence, and they had destroyed the hunters. But the truth was worse than the rumors. The galaxy believed Earth had won a single battle, perhaps by luck, perhaps by desperation. They did not yet know the scale of Earth's preparation. That revelation was about to come in the Council of 12, where the greatest powers of the galaxy met. Alien voices filled the chamber with disbelief. "The Cairth are liars," one shouted. "No prey could defeat their fleets," another hissed. But then the transmissions arrived, raw recordings from the battle in Sol. They showed human warships rising from oceans, giant cannons hidden inside mountains, dreadnoughts larger than cities. The chamber fell silent. One elder alien, his skin pale with fear, whispered, "They were not broken. They were building." Meanwhile, in the void beyond Jupiter, Earth's fleet gathered. It was not a handful of ships, nor even 100. It was an armada, thousands of vessels, their hulls black as night and glowing with silent energy. They filled the darkness like a wall, each ship a symbol of vengeance and strength. The galaxy had thought Earth dead, but Earth had become something greater, something untouchable. Admiral Sarah Kale stood on the command deck of the largest dreadnought, the Eternal Dawn. Her officers waited for her words, their eyes burning with the fire of generations. Sarah spoke softly, yet her voice carried like thunder. "For centuries they hunted us for centuries. We hid, we built, we endured. Now the galaxy will learn what Earth truly is." Her fleet powered up, reactors glowing like stars. The sight alone was enough to break alien hearts. No empire had ever built so many ships in silence. No world had ever forged such weapons without notice. The Cairth had hunted humans across the galaxy, but while they hunted, Earth had prepared for war. The revelation came when the humans opened their channels. Every empire, every species, every world heard. The same broadcast, a human voice spoke in every tongue, translated by hidden codes. "We are humanity. We are Earth. You thought us broken. You thought us prey. But we endured, and we waited, and we prepared. The hunters are gone, and now we stand ready for any who dare to follow." The message shook the galaxy. On distant worlds, alien rulers felt their power. Crumble armies that had once laughed at humans now questioned if they could ever face them. Fear spread like fire. On the wreckage of Cairth worlds, survivors whispered of new shadows in the stars. Human fleets had already moved beyond Sol, chasing Cairth strongholds. Wherever the Cairth fled, Earth was waiting. Not one fleet, but many. Rising from silence like ghosts of vengeance, inside the council chamber, panic broke into shouting. "If they rise unchecked, they will rule us all," one alien leader cried. "They have earned the right to rule," another answered grimly. The balance of the galaxy had shifted, and no one could deny it. Meanwhile, on Earth, deep in the command bunkers, civilians emerged for the first time in generations. They looked to the sky not with fear but with pride. The silence of their world had been the silence of preparation. Now the sky glowed with the strength of their people. Admiral Sarah Kale gave her final words for the broadcast. "They believed we were gone, but we endured. They believed we were silent, but silence was our shield. Now the galaxy knows, humanity is ready, and we will never be hunted again." Transmission ended, but the echo of her voice carried through the stars. Worlds far away trembled, empires quaked, and even the most powerful rulers sat in silence, because they all understood one thing. Humanity had returned, not as prey, not as victims, but as a force beyond reckoning. The revelation was complete. Earth was no longer a forgotten world. It was the center of fear, the center of power, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The end of the hunt. The Kerth were broken. What was once a mighty empire of hunters now drifted through the stars in shattered pieces, their fleets burned, their colonies silenced, their commanders slain or captured. For centuries they had stalked humanity, but now they were the ones running, and everywhere they fled, Earth was already waiting. Human fleets spread like a tide across the galaxy. Not conquerors, not raiders, but hunters returning the chase. Every Kerth stronghold was struck with precision. Every hidden base destroyed. The message was clear. There was no corner of the galaxy where the hunters could hide. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Sarah Kale stood with her officers. Reports poured in from every sector. Another Kerth fleet destroyed, one said. Their supply lines cut, their empire collapsing. Another added. Sarah did not smile. Her face remained cold. This is justice, she said, and it will not end until the galaxy understands. For the galaxy was watching. From the neutral systems to the proudest empires, every world listened in silence as Earth continued its campaign. The Council of 12 tried to speak, tried to call for peace, but their voices shook because they all knew the truth. If the humans had prepared for centuries in silence, then they could not be stopped by words on a dying Kerth world. One alien elder looked to the skies as human ships descended. He whispered bitterly, "This is how the hunters die, not in battle but in fear." His words became the last entry of a people who had once ruled the stars. The final battle came at the Kerth capital, a fortress world wrapped in rings of fire and steel. The Kerth gathered their last defenders, thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. They swore to fight to the end, to show they were still predators. But when Earth's armada arrived, the Kerth saw the truth. The sky itself was filled with human warships. Their numbers blotted out the stars. Admiral Sarah Kale spoke across every channel. Her voice reached not only the Kerth but every species in the galaxy. You hunted us across the stars. You thought us prey. You thought us weak. But humanity endured. Humanity prepared. And humanity has risen. This is the end of the hunt. Her words were followed by silence. Then Earth's fleet moved. Blue fire cut through Kerth defenses. Rail cannons split their mighty fortresses. Missiles rained from orbit like falling suns. The capital fell in hours. The Kerth Empire, once feared by all, was gone, but Earth was not finished. After the victory, humanity broadcast one final message. It was not a threat, not a plea, but a truth carved into the stars. No one will ever hunt us again. We will not forgive. We will not forget. The galaxy may watch us, fear us, or hate us, but it will never again mock us as prey. We are Earth, we are humanity, and the hunt is over. Across the galaxy, the words echoed. Some species shivered in fear, others whispered in awe, for even those who had never lifted a weapon against humans now felt the weight of their strength. The balance of power had shifted forever. The hunters were gone, and the galaxy now lived under the shadow of Earth. On Earth itself, the people emerged from silence at last. Children looked to the skies and saw their fleets not as rumors but as guardians. The generations of hiding, of waiting, of silence were finally over. Humanity stood tall again, united, stronger than ever before. Admiral Sarah Kale stood alone in her command chamber. Through the wide glass window, she watched the stars burn with the light of fallen Kerth ships. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but it carried through the silence. They will never hunt us again. And with that, the galaxy's story changed forever. No longer was humanity prey. They were the storm. They were the hunters. And their silence had become the deadliest weapon of all.